I woke up to the sound of my bedroom door slamming shut, the kind of thunderclap that rattles your bones even in sleep. My diary, my goddamn sanctuary, lay splayed open on the hardwood floor like a gutted fish, its pages whispering accusations in the dim morning light filtering through the blinds. And there, etched into the doorway like a bad omen, was my father's back as he stormed down the hall. His shoulders hunched under the weight of words he shouldn't have read. Gabriel's laugh makes me feel like I could finally breathe. What if he feels it too? That was the moment my world cracked open, spilling out every hidden shard of who I was. 17 years in Elmwood, Ohio. A speck of a town where cornfields stretched like endless regrets and high school hallways echoed with the ghosts of unspoken truths. And I'd spent most of them building walls around the one part of me that terrified me most. My name's Jude Harlan, and up until that frozen Tuesday in October, I was just the quiet kid who aced AP Lit, volunteered at the animal shelter, and dodged every rumor about why I never dated the cheerleaders. But secrets have a way of clawing their way out, especially when your dad's a high school history teacher who prides himself on uncovering the past. I scrambled off the bed, heart hammering like a trapped bird, and snatched the diary before the ink could bleed into permanence. My hands shook as I flipped to the last entry, the one I'd scrawled at 2 a.m. after sneaking back from the football field where Gabriel and I had sat too close under the bleachers, our knees brushing in that electric way that said everything our mouths couldn't. He's the only one who sees me, I'd written. Not the straight-A facade, but the real me, the one who cries at old Springsteen songs and dreams of a city where love doesn't come with footnotes. God, if Dad had read that far. Downstairs, the kitchen smelled like burnt coffee and regret. Mom was at the stove, flipping pancakes with mechanical precision, her nurse's scrubs still creased from the night shift. She glanced up, her eyes soft but wary, like she could sense the storm brewing. Dad sat at the table, staring into his mug as if it held the answers to questions he didn't want to ask. "Morning, Jude," he said, voice flat as the Ohio plains. No eye contact, no follow-up. I slid into my chair, forcing a smile that felt like chewing glass. "Hey, sleep okay?" Lame, but it was all I had. The silence stretched, thick and accusing, until Mom set a plate in front of me. Blueberry pancakes, my favorite, like some twisted peace offering. "Your father's got something to say," she murmured, squeezing his shoulder before retreating to the sink. Dad cleared his throat, the sound scraping like gravel under tires. "Jude, I found your journal." There it was, the bomb dropping without a parachute. My fork clattered against porcelain. I wasn't prying. The door was open, and it fell out when I was fixing that loose shelf. I read enough to understand. Understand? The word twisted in my gut like a knife. I wanted to bolt, to grab my keys and drive until Elmwood was a speck in the rearview, but my legs were lead. "Dad, it's not. It's about a boy," he cut in. His voice steady but edged with something raw, like he'd been crying in the dark. "Gabriel Reyes, from your history class. You wrote about feelings that, well, they're not what I raised you to have." The room tilted. Not what he raised me to have. Like my heart was a faulty engine he'd installed wrong. Mom turned from the sink, her face paling, but she didn't speak. Never did when Dad was in decree mode. "I'm not mad," he continued, which was the biggest lie since Nixon. "But this town's not kind to differences, and neither is our family history. I won't let you throw away your future on some phase." A phase. That's what they called it in the pamphlets he'd probably already printed from his office printer. I pushed back from the table, chair screeching like a scream. "It's not a phase, Dad. It's me. And Gabriel, he's..." My voice cracked, betraying the fire I'd tried to bank. "You had no right." "I had every right," he snapped, eyes flashing now, the teacher in him rising like a tidal wave. "I'm protecting you. From yourself. From him." He stood, towering in that way that used to make me feel safe, and jabbed a finger toward the stairs. "Pack a bag. You're staying home from school today. We're talking to Pastor Ellis after." Pastor Ellis. The name landed like a punch. Conversion therapy light, wrapped in Bible verses and tough love. I'd overheard whispers from kids at school. Tommy Whitaker, who'd vanished last summer and come back fixed. His eyes hollow as autumn cornstalks. No, not me. Not for Gabriel. I bolted upstairs, slamming my own door this time, and fired off a text to the one person who could anchor me. Dad knows. About us. Skipping school. Meet at the field? Gabriel's reply buzzed back in seconds. On my way. Hold on, Jude. We're in this. Gabriel Reyes was the sun in my gray-skied world. 17 like me, with skin like warm caramel, eyes that crinkled when he laughed, and a soccer jersey that clung just enough to make my pulse stutter. We'd been orbiting each other since freshman year, bonded over shared detention for disrupting class. Really? Just debating if The Great Gatsby was a tragedy or a scam. Last month, under those bleachers, he'd turned to me, rain pattering like hesitant applause, and said, "You know I feel it too, right? This thing between us. It's not just friendship." His hand on mine, tentative as a first snowfall, and I'd kissed him. Soft, stolen, the kind of moment that rewrites your stars. But now, as I waited on the dew-slick grass of the old practice field behind Elmwood High, the weight of Dad's words pressed down like the overcast sky. Gabriel arrived on his beat-up bike, helmet tucked under his arm, his breath fogging in the chill. "Jude," he said, pulling me into a hug that smelled like pine and possibility. "Tell me everything." I did, words tumbling out in a rush. The diary, the confrontation, the pastor's shadow looming. Gabriel's face hardened, but his grip on my shoulders was steady. "He's wrong. All of it. You're not broken, Jude. And neither is this." He leaned in, forehead to mine, our breaths mingling. "We'll fight it. Together." For a moment it was enough. We sat there until the first bell echoed faintly from the school, plotting like fugitives. Skip class, talk to the counselor, maybe even tell Mom the full truth. But as Gabriel pedaled away, promising to cover for me, a knot twisted in my chest. Dad's car was gone when I snuck back home, but on the kitchen counter sat a note. "Meeting with Ellis. Be back by noon. Think about your future, son." Scrawled below, in Mom's looping script, "I love you, no matter what. We'll figure this out. No matter what." If only it were that simple. School dragged like a sentence without parole. By lunch, rumors were already slithering through the cafeteria. Dad must have let something slip to a colleague, because Tommy Whitaker shot me a pitying glance from across the room, and Sarah Klein whispered too loudly about Harlan's kid going through a thing. Gabriel found me in the library stacks, our secret nook amid dusty encyclopedias. "Ignore them," he murmured, sliding a contraband PB&J across the table. "Focus on us. Tonight, bonfire at Miller's Pond? Just you, me, and the stars." I nodded, but the fear gnawed deeper. What if Dad's protection meant more than talks? What if he shipped me off like some relic from his history books, a cautionary tale of lost boys? That night, the bonfire crackled like a promise kept. Miller's Pond was Elmwood's hidden heart, a glassy mirror ringed by willows, where kids escaped the town's prying eyes. Gabriel and I arrived late, hands brushing as we wove through the crowd of flannel-clad juniors nursing beers smuggled from older siblings. The air hummed with guitar strums and laughter, but we carved out our own space on a fallen log, the flames painting his face in gold and shadow. "You're beautiful like this," I whispered, emboldened by the heat and the way his thumb traced circles on my palm. He smiled that half-tilted grin, the one that made my knees weak, and pulled me closer. Our first real kiss by firelight, tentative at first, then deepening like the night itself, all salt and sweetness and the faint taste of esmores on his lips. No one noticed. In the haze of smoke and stories, we were invisible. Safe, or so I thought. As we broke apart, breathless and tangled, a figure emerged from the tree-lean, tall, familiar, the glint of headlights cutting through the dark. Dad. His truck idled like a predator, and in the cab, I glimpsed Pastor Ellis's white collar. "Jude!" Dad's voice boomed, shattering the night. Kids scattered like startled deer, but Gabriel froze beside me, his hand still in mine. "What the hell?" Gabriel hissed, but I was already on my feet, the world narrowing to my father's face. disappointment etched like fault lines. Get in the truck. Now. No room for argument. Pastor Ellis stepped out, Bible in hand, his smile oily as pond scum. Son, let's pray on this. Gabriel stepped forward, chin lifted. He's not going anywhere with you. Not like this. Dad's eyes flicked to our joined hands, and something fractured there. Rage, or maybe grief. This isn't your fight, boy. Stay out of it. It's my fight if it's Jude's. Gabriel shot back, voice steady as rebar. The bonfire popped, embers swirling like accusations. I pulled my hand free, the cold rush of air a slap. Gabriel, it's okay. Handle it. Lies all of it. But I couldn't drag him into the crossfire. Not yet. As I climbed into the truck, Dad's grip on the wheel was white-knuckled. Pastor Ellis murmured prayers from the passenger seat, but Dad was silent until we hit the highway, the pond shrinking in the rearview. I saw you there, he finally said, voice low. With him. While you were distracted, I went through your phone. Texts, photos, everything. My stomach plummeted. While I was kissing Gabriel, lost in that stolen bliss, Dad had rifled my life like a crime scene. You had no right, I choked out. I did it for you, he insisted, eyes on the road. Ellis has a program, away from here, from temptations. You'll thank me one day. The betrayal burned hotter than the fire we'd left behind. Not just reading my diary, but invading every corner while I was vulnerable. You don't get it, Dad. This isn't a temptation. It's love. He laughed, bitter as black coffee. Love? You're a kid. What do you know about love? We pulled into the driveway, the house dark except for Mom's silhouette in the window. She met us at the door, arms crossed, face a war of worry and resolve. Tom, tell me you didn't. It's decided, Dad said, brushing past her. He leaves in the morning. For his own good. Mom's eyes met mine, pleading. Jude, honey. But I was done. I stormed upstairs, slamming the door on their voices, and texted Gabriel. He's sending me away. Tomorrow. Don't come. It's too dangerous. His reply was a flood. No. I'm coming over. We fight this together. I love you, Jude. Don't you dare give up. Love. The word hit like grace in the chaos. For the first time that night, as I packed a defiant duffel with jeans and dreams, I believed we could win. Dawn crept in like a thief, gray and unforgiving, painting my bedroom walls in shades of surrender. I hadn't slept. How could I, with the suitcase zipped at my feet like a coffin for the boy I'd been? Gabriel's texts lit up my phone like fireflies. I'm outside. Let me in. But Dad's truck rumbled to life in the driveway, headlights slicing the fog, and I knew sneaking him past the war zone downstairs was a suicide mission. Mom knocked softly, slipping in with a thermos of coffee and eyes red-rimmed from her own midnight vigil. He thinks he's saving you, she whispered, sitting on the bed's edge. Her hand on mine felt like the last tether to normalcy. Your father. He's scared. Of losing you like he lost his brother. Uncle Ray. The name hung unspoken, a ghost in our family lore. Dad's older brother, gone too young. Complications from the lifestyle, Dad always said, voice clipped. I'd never pushed. Some doors stay bolted for a reason. But now, as Mom smoothed my hair like I was 5 again, pieces clicked. Was Uncle Ray? She nodded, tears spilling. Gay. Proudly. Your grandpa disowned him. Tom watched it break our family, and it broke him too. He's projecting, Jude. Trying to spare you that pain by erasing it. Erasing me. The irony twisted like barbed wire. I can't go, Mom. Not to Ellis's camp. It's not salvation. It's a cage. She hugged me fierce, whispering, then run. But promise you'll call. Every day. Her blessing, fragile as tissue, was the spark I needed. Downstairs, Dad waited by the door, keys jangling like chains. Pastor Ellis loomed in the living room, sipping coffee with the bland patience of a man who peddled miracles on clearance. Ready, son? Ellis asked as if this were a field trip. Dad's face was a fortress, but cracks showed. bags under his eyes, jaw clenched too tight. "This is for the best," he muttered, more to himself than me. I met his gaze, the boy who'd once worshipped him now seeing the man. "You read my diary while I slept, Dad. Invaded my phone. Betrayed every trust. And for what? To fix something that was never broken." His flinch was visceral.
No.
I shouldered my bag, not the one he'd packed with reform books, but my own, stuffed with Gabriel's mixtape and a photo of us from the pond. "I'm choosing my future. With Gabriel. With me." Ellis stepped forward, hand outstretched like a salesman. "The devil's in denial, boy. Come with us," and the front door flew open before I could retort. Gabriel burst in, wild-eyed and breathless. His hoodie zipped over last night's bonfire ash. "Jude!" He scanned the room, landing on Dad like a hawk on prey. "You're not taking him," Mom gasped. Dad stiffened, and Ellis sputtered about intruders. But Gabriel didn't back down. He crossed the threshold, grabbing my hand with a grip that said we're unbreakable. "Mr. Harlan, I know you think you're protecting him, but love isn't the enemy. Hiding from it is." Dad's face drained of color. This is your fault, corrupting my son." "Corrupting?" Gabriel's laugh was sharp, edged with hurt. "I've never forced Jude into anything. He chose me because I see him, the real him, the one who writes poetry that could move mountains and volunteers to save strays because he knows what it's like to feel lost. If anyone's corrupting, it's you, shoving him into some backwoods brainwash just to avoid your own ghosts." The room went tomb silent. Dad's eyes darted to Mom, then me, the weight of Gabriel's words landing like indictments. Uncle Ray's shadow loomed larger now, unspoken accusations bubbling up. "Tom," Mom said softly, stepping between them. "He's right. This isn't protection. It's fear. Ray's death wasn't the lifestyle. It was the loneliness you forced on him by turning away." Dad staggered back, hand to his chest like he'd been shot. "You don't know what you're saying, Ellen. Ray chose that path and it killed him." "No," she countered, voice gaining steel. "You chose silence, and now you're choosing it for Jude." Gabriel squeezed my hand, his warmth the only anchor in the storm. "Let him go, Mr. Harlan, or you'll lose him for good. Not to me, but to regret." Ellis cleared his throat, awkward as a deflated balloon. "Perhaps we should pray." "Out," Dad barked, not at me, but at the pastor. Ellis blinked, then shuffled toward the door, mumbling about rescheduling. The truck keys clattered to the floor as Dad sank into a chair, head in hands. "Jude," I thought. "God, what have I done?" The vulnerability cracked me open, not with anger, but ache. This man, who'd taught me to throw a baseball and quote Lincoln, was drowning in his own unhealed wounds. I knelt beside him, Gabriel's hand still in mine. "You read my secrets while I slept, Dad. But you missed the part where I wrote about you, how you're the reason I fight for what's right, even when it's hard. Don't make me fight you too." He looked up, tears carving tracks down his weathered cheeks. "I can't lose you like Ray. I love you, son." The words hung, raw and real, the first bridge across the chasm. "Then let me love who I love. That's all I've ever wanted." Mom nodded, tears mirroring his. Gabriel stood sentinel, his presence a quiet testament. In that fractured moment, as the sun breached the horizon, the house felt less like a battlefield and more like a beginning. But Elmwood wasn't done testing us. School that week was a gauntlet. Whispers turned to stares, Tommy Whitaker cornering me in the hall with a sneer. "Heard you're one of those now. Careful, Harlan. Town like this eats its own." Gabriel was my shield, walking me to classes, his arm a casual brush that screamed solidarity. We stole moments in the art room, where he sketched my profile with charcoal smudges on his fingers, murmuring, "You're my muse, Jude. Don't ever forget." Yet the betrayal lingered like smoke. Dad kept his distance, meals silent symphonies of clinking forks, but small gestures emerged. A copy of Giovanni's Room left on my nightstand, dog-eared at the passages on hidden loves. Progress, maybe, or penance. Then came the assembly. Principal Hargrove called it a talk on values. But we knew better. Rumors of my situation had reached the top, and with Dad on staff it reeked of intervention. The gym buzzed with restless teens as Hargrove droned about traditional families and moral compasses. His eyes lingering on me and Gabriel in the bleachers. Sweat beaded on my neck. Gabriel's knee pressed mine. A silent "we got this." But midway, Dad stood from the faculty row, microphone in hand. The room hushed. "Mr. Hargrove," he said, voice steady. "If I may." Whispers rippled. He scanned the crowd, landing on me. "I've taught history here for 20 years. Lessons on courage, on standing against the tide. But last week I failed my own. My son, Jude, is gay. And he's braver than I'll ever be." Gasps echoed. My heart stopped. Gabriel's hand crushed mine. Dad continued, unflinching. "I tried to fix him once out of fear. Fear of judgment, of loss. But love doesn't bend to fear. It defines us. So to Jude, and to anyone hiding, you're not alone. Not anymore." The gym erupted. Claps mixed with jeers. But in our row, Sarah Klein wiped tears, and even Tommy looked away, shamed. Gabriel pulled me into a hug, whispering, "Your dad's a hero." No, he was human, flawed like me. And in that revelation, forgiveness bloomed, tentative as spring. Winter clamped down on Elmwood like a judgmental fist, blanketing the town in snow that muffled screams but amplified isolation. Dad's assembly speech had split the school into factions. Allies who slipped rainbow pins into my locker, and detractors who scrawled slurs on my truck's windshield. Freak. Sinner. Gabriel and I navigated it hand in hand. Quite literally now, our relationship no longer a whisper but a defiant shout. We'd carve paths through the drifts to the diner after school, sharing fries and dreams of Chicago. Art schools for him, journalism programs for me, where love came without asterisks. But betrayal's echo lingered. Dad's confession had cost him. Faculty meetings turned tense, church invitations dried up, and Pastor Ellis's congregation splintered, half calling Dad a traitor, half a prodigal returned. He buried it in lesson plans, quoting Whitman in class, "I am large, I contain multitudes." At home, we'd talk, halting at first, over late-night cocoa. Ray wasn't ashamed, Dad admitted one evening, staring at old photos. "I was the one who looked away. Swore I'd protect you from that pain by keeping you straight." Irony, huh? I forgave him piece by jagged piece. Forgiveness isn't a light switch. It's a slow thaw. Mom mediated, her quiet strength the glue, organizing family game nights where Gabriel joined, his easy charm thawing Dad's edges. "You're good for him," Dad grunted once, passing the Monopoly board. Gabriel's grin lit the room. "We're good for each other." Yet the real storm brewed at school. Homecoming loomed, Elmwood's annual ritual of sequins and small-town pomp. But this year, it crackled with undercurrents. The dance committee, led by Sarah Klein, now an unexpected ally, pushed for inclusive themes. But Tommy Whitaker and his crew lobbied for traditional values only. Rumors swirled. A protest, a walkout, or worse, a setup to humiliate us. Gabriel, ever the optimist, signed us up as dates anyway. "Let them stare," he said, pinning a corsage to my jacket in the art room mirror. "We're writing our own story." His kiss was featherlight, tasting of acrylic paint and promise. But as we walked the halls, Tommy's glare followed like a shadow. The night arrived crisp and star-stabbed. The gym transformed into a twinkling wonderland of blue streamers and balloon arches. Dad dropped us off, his hand lingering on my shoulder. "Proud of you, son. Both of you." The words landed soft, a mending stitch. Inside, the crowd pulsed to a cover band's rendition of Wonderwall, bodies swaying in awkward clusters. Sarah waved us over, her dress a swirl of tulle. "You two clean up nice," she teased, then leaned in. "Heads up. Tommy's posse is by the punch bowl looking mean." We danced anyway, Gabriel's arms around me in the slow songs, his heartbeat syncing mine like a secret code. Whispers faded to white noise. For those stolen measures, Elmwood vanished. But as the DJ called for the king and queen vote, A relic tradition Tommy had revived, the mood soured. Ballots circulated and I caught the smirks. Votes not for couples but against us. Results flashed on the projector. King Tommy Whitaker. Queen some junior named Becca. But then, a twist. Honorary court members. Jude Harlan and Gabriel Reyes. For breaking barriers. The room fractured. Cheers from one side. Boos from the other. Tommy stormed the stage, mic in hand. This is a joke. We don't crown deviants here. Gabriel tensed beside me. Ignore him. But Tommy wasn't done. Harlan's dad sold us out for his fairy son. And now they're rubbing it in our faces. He hurled the crown like a grenade. It clattered at my feet, plastic jewels scattering. The gym ignited. Fists flew. Tommy lunging at Gabriel, Sarah shoving back, teachers wading in like lifeguards at a riptide. I grabbed Gabriel's arm, pulling him toward the exit, but a shoulder checked me hard, sending me sprawling. Stars burst. Blood trickled from my lip. Jude! Gabriel's cry cut through the chaos. He hauled me up, eyes wild with fury and fear. We burst into the parking lot, snowflakes melting on our flushed skin, the door slamming on the melee behind us. We ran, blind, breathless, to Dad's truck, where he'd waited like a sentinel. What happened? He demanded, engine roaring to life. Tommy? I gasped, wiping blood on my sleeve. Gabriel rattled off the details, voice shaking. Dad's jaw set. A warrior's resolve. That boy's going down. But as we sped home, the betrayal deepened. My phone buzzed. A group chat screenshot from Sarah. Tommy's plan, leaked by a guilty conscience. Spike the punch with laxatives, then out the fags on video. Make Harlan's kid puke his truth. They'd filmed the whole thing, the crown toss a prelude to viral humiliation. Dad pulled over, fists pounding the dash. I started this. My speech, it painted a target. No, Gabriel said firmly. Tommy's hate did. You gave Jude a voice. At home, Mom patched my lip with ice and antiseptic, her touch a bomb. Dad paced, phone in hand. I'm calling the sheriff. Assault charges. But I stopped him. Wait, fight smart, not angry. We huddled in the kitchen, plotting. Evidence from Sarah, witness statements, a school board petition. Gabriel sketched a poster. Love wins, hate loses. His artist's fire fueling us all. By morning, the video hit socials, twisted into drama at homecoming. Views climbed, comments a cesspool of vitriol. Yet allies emerged. National blogs picking up Dad's story, GLAAD reaching out, even a local reporter interviewing us. Elmwood cracked open, forced to confront its underbelly. Through it, Gabriel and I deepened. Stolen afternoons in the snow-draped woods, building forts of branches and whispers. Marry me someday? He joked one day, breath fogging as he traced our names in frost. In a city with real rainbows. Deal, I replied, kissing him under the evergreens. Romance in the raw, messy, real, laced with the thrill of survival. Climax brewed at the board meeting. Dad spoke first, voice steady. I betrayed my son once, invading his privacy out of fear. But I've learned, silence betrays us all. Gabriel followed. His testimony a poem of pain and perseverance. I closed, eyes on Tommy's parents in the back row. Hate isn't inherited, it's chosen. Choose better. The board voted unanimously. Tommy suspended, diversity training mandatory, our story curriculum bound. Victory tasted bittersweet, laced with the ache of what we'd lost. Innocence, ease. But in the aftermath, as snow melted to spring mud, Dad pulled me aside. While you slept that first night after reading your diary, I didn't just cry. I wrote a letter. To Ray's ghost, apologizing. And to you. He handed it over, envelope sealed with time. I read it later, alone. Forgive me for fearing your light. Shine on, son. Love, Dad. Humanity in the margins. Flawed. Fierce. Forgiving. Spring unfurled in Elmwood like a hesitant apology. Dogwoods blushing pink against skies scrubbed clean by April rains. The board meeting's ripple effects lingered. Tommy Whitaker slunk through halls with head down, his suspension a scarlet letter, while Sarah's ally group, now Pride Elm, met in the library, banners fluttering like flags of truce. Gabriel and I were its unofficial mascots, our hands intertwined in photos for the school paper, a quiet revolution etched in newsprint. But peace is fragile as new leaves. Dad's job hung by threads, parent complaints piled like storm debris, whispers of agenda pushing in the lounge. He brushed it off with wry grins. History's full of heretics. Guess I'm next. Yet late nights, I'd hear him on calls with Mom, voice frayed. What if they fire me? What kind of man does that make me? It made him mine, stronger for the scars. We'd bonded in the wreckage, fishing at the creek on weekends, Gabriel tagging along with his sketchpad. You're a natural teacher, he'd tell Dad, reeling in a bass as the sun dipped gold. Dad's laugh, rusty at first, grew genuine. Nah, you're the one opening eyes, kid. Romance bloomed fuller now, unshadowed. Gabriel and I claimed the old mill by the river as ours. Rusted beams and wild iris, where we'd lie on quilts, trading stories under lazy fans of willow. Remember the bonfire? He'd murmur, fingers weaving through mine. That kiss, it was my North Star. I'd pull him close, our bodies fitting like puzzle edges, hearts sinking in the hush. No rush, just presence. The slow burn of souls recognizing home. Yet conflict simmered anew. Prom loomed, Elmwood's grand finale, but invitations came laced with barbs. Tommy's crew, emboldened by online echo chambers, plotted a straight pride counter-event. Flyers tacked to lockers. Real couples only. No rainbows allowed. Sarah fumed in our meetings. They're scared of us winning. Gabriel, ever the firebrand, proposed we crash it, show up arm in arm, steal the spotlight. Make them see love isn't a threat. I hesitated, the ghost of homecoming bruises throbbing. What if it escalates? Dad's already on thin ice. Then we escalate love, he countered, eyes fierce. Bigger, louder. For every Jude out there, sleeping with secrets. His passion ignited mine. We rallied Pride Elm, sewing sashes of rainbow fabric, practicing speeches that wove personal pain into universal pleas. Mom contributed, stitching sequins with surgical precision. Dad coached rhetoric, quoting MLK. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. From night descended electric, the air humming with thunderheads on the horizon. We arrived in Dad's truck. Gabriel in a slim black suit, me in midnight blue, corsages pinned like medals. The gym thrummed, chandeliers dripping light over gowns and gelled hair. Sarah greeted us with hugs, her date a shy violinist from band. Tommy's in the annex, prepping their alternative. Let's make it ours. We danced first, wild spins to pop anthems, Gabriel's laughter a melody above the bass. Eyes followed, some warm, some wary, but we moved like we owned the floor. Then, as the slow set crooned Sinatra, Tommy's group filtered in red sashes, signs reading tradition over trends. He spotted us, sneer curling. Couldn't stay away, Harlan? Craving more crowns. Gabriel stepped forward, mic commandeered from the DJ. We're here for the music, Tommy. And the message. Love's not a trend. It's timeless. Applause swelled, tentative then tidal. I joined him, voice steady. You call it tradition to hate? That's not heritage. That's handcuffs. Murmurs built to roar. Tommy lunged, sign raised like a club, but Sarah blocked, her cry, enough! Rallying the crowd. Fists clenched, but no blows landed. Teachers swarmed, Principal Hargrove's face thunderous. Out, all of you. This ends now. Outside, rain lashed like judgment, soaking sashes to transparency. Tommy's crew scattered to cars, but he lingered, face twisted. You think you won? This town's blood runs straight. You'll bleed for it. Gabriel rounded on him, rain streaming. Threats? That's weakness, man. Real strength is owning your shit. Tommy faltered, eyes flickering, hurt, not hate, before bolting to his truck. We waited out the storm in the truck bed, Gabriel's head on my shoulder, rain drumming a lullaby. You were brave, I whispered. We were. His kiss was salt and storm, deepening as thunder rolled. Passion surged, hands exploring with urgent tenderness. Collarbones, waists, the curve of hips. Boundaries respected, fire banked but blazing. Love's language, fluent in touch without trespass. Home brought reckoning. Dad waited on the porch, umbrella in hand. Heard about the clash. You okay? Better than okay? I said, dripping beside him. We stood up. He nodded, pride softening his lines. Ray would have loved this. He crashed more than one dance back in the day. A story spilled then. Uncle Ray, flamboyant in feather boas, dancing with boys under harvest moons until Grandpa's rage drove him to the city, where AIDS claimed him young. I was 10, Dad confessed. Watched him pack, thinking it was my fault for not fighting harder. The vulnerability bridged us fully. You're fighting now, I said. For me. Spring deepened, exams a blur of cram sessions in Gabriel's basement. His mom's tamales fueling all-nighters. Graduation neared, caps ordered, futures mapped. Me to Northwestern on scholarship, him to SAIC for art. But betrayal's final twist waited in the wings. One June evening, post-rehearsal, I found Dad in his study, head bowed over letters. What's wrong? I asked, door creaking. He looked up, envelope clutched. The board. They're letting me go. Budget cuts, they say. But it's me. Too controversial. My world tilted. Because of us? He shrugged, weary. Because I spoke truth. And truth costs. Rage boiled. This was the betrayal's apex. Not Dad's initial invasion, but the town's retaliation, punishing him for my authenticity. Gabriel arrived minutes later, sensing my text's panic. We'll sue, he declared, pacing. Or crowdfund. Start a podcast. Harlan's History of Heart. Dad chuckled. Faint. Appreciate it, son. But I've got a plan. He revealed applications, jobs in Chicago, near our colleges. Time for a fresh chapter. With you two leading the way. Tears stung. Sacrifice, silent and profound. You'd move? For me. For us. Mom joined, arms around him. Family's not a place. It's a choice. Graduation dawned golden. Stadium packed with whoops and mortarboards. Valedictorian Sarah invoked us. To Jude and Gabriel, proof that love rewrites rules. Tommy, in the crowd, met my eyes. No sneer, just nod. A truce, perhaps. After, under the bleachers, our origin point, we kissed, diplomas clutched like talismans. To cities and canvases, Gabriel toasted with stolen champagne. To us, I echoed. Dad watched from afar, smile genuine. While I'd slept through so much, secrets, storms, he'd awakened. And in that, redemption flowered. Summer scorched Elmwood into submission. Heat waves warping the horizon like fever dreams. With graduation's confetti still settling, Gabriel and I packed for the great exodus. His family's garage a chaos of easels and suitcases, mine a symphony of checklists and last-minute panics. Chicago beckoned, a skyline of steel and story, where we'd share a shoebox apartment off-campus, dreams stacked like Jenga blocks. Ramen and romance, Gabriel quipped, taping a box labeled our future. But leaving meant loose ends. Dad's severance was scant, but he'd landed adjunct work at a community college up north. Irony's gift, teaching history to wide-eyed commuters. Closer to you, he said over burgers at the diner, our last Elmwood ritual. Mom, ever the anchor, had job leads in nursing, her optimism a buoy. We'll visit. Sundays for deep dish. Gabriel's family, devout Catholics with a quiet grace, had embraced us. His mom crossing herself before hugs, his dad clapping shoulders with gruff approval. You boys make each other better, he'd say. No sermons, just acceptance earned in increments. Yet the undercurrent pulled Tommy Whitaker. Postgrad, he'd vanished into summer job obscurity, but a late-night call from Sarah shattered the idyll. He's spiraling, she said, voice hushed over diner clatter. Drinking, fighting. Blames you, Us for his suspension, his folks' divorce. Says he's got proof to bury you all. Proof? My blood chilled. Gabriel, sprawled on my bed mid-pack, sat up. Like what? More videos. Worse. Forged stuff. Texts making it look like you seduced him or some twisted revenge porn lie. Sarah's paws crackled. He's posting tomorrow. Viral takedown. Betrayal's Hydra head. Not just personal but communal. Tommy weaponizing pain to reclaim power. Dad, when told, went still. Let him. Truths are armor. But armor dense. That night, sleep evaded. Gabriel held me in the dark, whispers weaving shields. He's lashing out because we won. Don't let him rewrite our story. Morning broke muggy, notifications a deluge. Tommy's post exploded across local feeds. Screenshots of doctored chats. Me propositioning him, crude and coercive. Gabriel as the instigator. Captions screamed Elmwood's shame. Teacher's son turns predator. Comments festered. Old foes piling on, new trolls feasting. School friends rallied. Sarah livestreaming debunkings. Pride Elm drafting counters. But the damage seeped. Dad's new boss calling. Wary? Mom fielding church gossip. I confronted Tommy at the old field. Gabriel at my side. His truck idling like backup. He leaned against the bleachers. Flask in hand. Eyes bloodshot. Harlan. Come to gloat. To end this, I said, voice even. Why? We never hurt you. He laughed, hollow. You existed. That's hurt enough in this shithole. Dad left, 'cause he couldn't face the gay agenda at home. Mom blames me for not stopping you. Gabriel stepped forward, no anger, just ache. That's not on us. That's on them for teaching hate instead of healing. We could help, Tommy. Therapy, not targets. Tommy's flask trembled. Help? Like your daddy's speeches? Ruined everything. Dad arrived then, unbidden. His truck crunching gravel. He approached slow, hands open. Son, he said to Tommy, not me. I know pain like yours. Thought burying it made me strong. Nearly lost Jude doing it. Tommy sneered, but tears gleamed. What, you gonna preach now? No preach. Listen. Dad sat on the grass, gesturing us down. Reluctant, we joined. A circle in the dust. He spoke of Ray, not as cautionary, but as love lost to silence. Hate's a thief, Tommy. Steals your tomorrow. But forgiveness? That's the heist back. Words hung, heavy as humidity. Tommy's shoulders slumped, flask dropping. I photoshopped it all. Wanted to feel big again. Gabriel nodded. We get it. But delete it. Apologize. Start over. Tommy's eyes flicked to his phone, fingers hovering. Then, delete. Posts vanishing like smoke. Sorry, he muttered, voice cracking. For everything. We drove him home, silence companionable. At his door he paused. Thanks. For not fighting fire with fire. Humanity's quiet victories. Conversations over crusades. With poison purged, summer sweetened. Road trip to Chicago. Dad's truck loaded with boxes. Mom's playlist of Springsteen and show tunes. Gabriel and I rode shotgun, hands linked, wind whipping confessions. Scared? He asked, city lights first glimpsing. Terrified, excited, alive. My kiss sealed it. College crashed in kaleidoscopic. Dorms a babble of accents. Lectures sparking synapses. We navigated separately. My newsroom deadlines, his studio splatters, but evenings reconvened in our walk-up, takeout and talks the ritual. Love matured, layered. Arguments over dishes dissolving into dances, vulnerabilities shared like secrets reclaimed. Dad thrived adjuncting, weekends bringing him to our door with pie and pride. Ray's watching, he'd say, toasting. Mom joined, her laughter filling gaps. Fall leaves turned, then fell. Thanksgiving pulled us home. Elmwood, softened by time, welcomed. Sarah's engagement party, where Tommy, sober, studying trades, offered a handshake. Water under the bridge? Bridge built, I replied. Climax crested subtly, not in storms but swells. Christmas Eve, Snow blanketing the farm. Dad gathered us by the fire. While you slept that first night, Jude, after the diary, I didn't just panic. I prayed. Not for change, but clarity. He handed letters. One to Ray, burned in proxy. One to me, read aloud. You taught me love's not possession, but release. Thank you for being my mirror. Tears flowed, cathartic. Gabriel's arm around me, Mom's hand in Dad's. We were whole human. Years blurred, graduations, jobs, me editing for a queer mag, Gabriel illustrating covers. Weddings whispered, then vowed. Us in Chicago, Dad walking me, Mom beaming, Tommy a distant well-wisher. Betrayal's scar faded to story, a testament. While I slept, Dad didn't just uncover secrets. He unearthed his soul. And in that awakening, we all bloomed. In the end, love isn't the absence of pain, but the persistence through it. Human, messy, magnificent. Ours.